our class. Today we're going to continue writing our diary entry as if we are a child from the Great Fire of London. So in yesterday's English lesson, we started off our diary entry. So this is my one, just to remind you of the things that we did. So we've got Sunday, the 2nd of September, 1666. Dear Diary, what a terrible day this has been. Do you want to know what happened? I was sleeping sweetly in my bed when I was rudely awakened by people shouting and screaming outside my bedroom window. I thought that I was dreaming, so I looked outside my window, but I wasn't. People were running with their possessions through the street, screaming, "Fire! Fire!" So we said about being awakened. What were we awakened by? Was it smoke? Was it flames? Was it the sound of flickering flames? Was it the sound of people screaming, crying? And we've had a look outside the bedroom window. We're not in a dream. We are awake. Now we've got to think about what we're going to do. So I want you to imagine, because in this diary entry, we are imagining that we are there during the Great Fire of London in 1666, and we have woken up to people screaming, shouting, or flames or smoke. So imagine you're in your house and you wake up and the same thing is happening. Maybe the house is opposite you. You can see that they're on fire. Okay, there's people shouting, "Get out of your house. Fire, fire, it's spreading, it's spreading." What would you do? Remember, you're the only one that's awake. Or if you've said that your sibling wakes you up, mummy and daddy aren't awake yet, or grandma, grandparents, whoever lives with you, they're not awake yet. What would you do? Where would you go? So, if that was me, I'd be going to my mummy and daddy's room to wake them up, to say, "Listen, this is happening outside. If you don't believe me, come and have a look. What are we going to do?" So, this is my next section. So, comma. I quickly ran into mummy and daddy's room and shook them so that they would wake up. I frantically told them about the people outside and they didn't believe a word I said. Can you believe it? Then Daddy had a look for himself, and once he saw two, he knew that I was telling the truth. So here I have explained what I've done. I've described that. I quickly ran, so I'm using the adjective quickly. Okay, I'm saying how I ran, or frantically. Okay, so I quickly ran into my mummy's and daddy's room. I shook them to wake them up, because that's what I used to do as a child. I used to shake my mum and dad to wake them up if I woke up early. So think about how you would wake your mum and dad up. Okay, would you tickle their toes or their feet? Okay, would you shake them? Would you shout in their ears? What would you do? So think about how you're going to wake them up. Did they believe you, or were they half asleep saying, "Go away and go back to bed"? Okay, and you had to actually pull them out the bed. So I want you to think about what you're going to do in your diary entry once you know that you are awake. So you can start your sentence with "so," and you can see I've left a line to show a new paragraph. And think of another adverb. An adverb is a word that describes the verb. So my verb is ran. You might say sprinted, galloped. Okay, and how did you do it? Was it quickly? Was it frantically? Okay, was it worriedly? Okay, so think about how you can change that section. Whose room did you go to? Was it just mummy's? Was it mummy's and daddy's? Was it grandma and granddad's? Whose room? And how did you wake them up? So, and tickled their toes so they would wake up. Or, and pulled on their ears so they would wake up. So think about how you'd wake your parents up or grandparents up. Then saying about how you told them about the people outside, or you told them about the billowing smoke that was going through your window into your room, okay? How did you tell them? I've used frantically here. You might use quickly instead and exchange those adverbs. So I frantically told them about the people outside and they didn't believe a word I said. Maybe your parents did believe you, okay? And they looked out the window, they ran as quick as they could to look out the window, saw that you were telling the truth. But if they didn't believe a word you said, you might think about that rhetorical question. Or you might even put an exclamation sentence like, "How ridiculous, how stupid." Okay, so thinking about how you can change and adapt my paragraph to include the ideas that you want. So pause the video and see whether you can leave a line under your last paragraph, okay, and start writing this one for me. So hopefully you've had time to have a look at that paragraph and start writing that down. Now we're going to think for the next section about what the children might have saved from the fire. Okay, daddy or mummy or whoever has figured out you're telling the truth. you need to start getting ready to leave the house, okay? Otherwise the house is going to burn. So what would you save? So we're not thinking about today what you'd save, because today you've got iPhones, Xboxes, cool toys, okay? Technology wasn't like that back then. But it might be that you saved a favourite top, a diary, okay? Because we're writing a diary entry right now, or a favourite toy like a doll, okay? They would have had toys like dolls back then. And how might they be feeling at that moment? Are they scared, afraid, terrified, horrified? Okay, thinking about those adjectives to describe how you're feeling. So this is my section. You can see it in the blue here. So again, I've left a line to show a different paragraph. Then Daddy said that I needed to quickly get changed and put some shoes on because we had to leave. I really didn't want to go. I was so scared. I just wanted to go back to sleep. I grabbed my favourite toy, Rebecca, tightly. So in this section, you're talking about getting changed, okay? Maybe you had your pyjamas on, you needed to put your coat on, okay? Because it was obviously cold, early hours of the morning, outside. You needed to put some shoes on, or maybe you changed your pyjamas and got into normal clothes. You had to leave. And then saying how you feel. I really, really didn't want to go. I loved my room, I loved my house. What was going to happen? Okay, so you can put those rhetorical questions in, those exclamation sentences in, and then talk about which toy you're going to grab. Did you grab your diary? Because you've got your diary now that we're looking back at. Did you grab your toy? Okay, maybe it was a doll. Did you put your favourite set of clothes on? Okay, so thinking about the fact that you needed to quickly get changed, put your coat on, put your shoes on, because you had to leave. And then explaining here how you were feeling. I really, really, really didn't want to go. So using that repetition to emphasise. I really, 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 really didn't want to go. I was so terrified and so scared of what might happen. Would I ever be able to get back to my home again? Question mark. I just wanted to go back to sleep and for it to all be a dream. I grabbed my favourite toy, Rebecca, tightly. I had to take her with me. So thinking about that section, I want to know about your feelings. What did Mummy, Daddy say you needed to do? Did you get your coat on? Did you put your shoes on? Did you change your jammies into something else? Okay, because you had to leave. And then from this section here, telling me how you felt, what your thoughts were, and which toy or diary or thing did you save. So pause the video and have a go at doing that now for me. So hopefully you paused the video and had time to do that section. That section is my favourite section because you can really get into how they must have been feeling during that time, and especially using your plan from the previous lessons where we were thinking about the senses. What were you feeling? What could you hear? What could you see, smell, taste? You can include all of those into that paragraph. Okay, next paragraph we're going to be having a look at is once you've got all your stuff on, you're leaving the house, what did you see when you were walking or running through the streets? Did you see houses falling down from the fire, people panicking, screaming, the fire spreading from house to house, okay, very quickly, people running with all their stuff and their stuff trailing all over the floor, people in their pyjamas, people with no shoes on because they had to leave their houses in such a panic, in such a rush, and thinking about how might they have felt. So again, for this section, I've left a line to show a different paragraph. And I've started once I was ready. So you can steal that from me, okay, for yours. Remember, we're adapting mine. That doesn't mean changing everything. It means using bits you like, adding bits to the bits that you want to change and that you don't like. Once I was ready, Daddy and Mummy held my hand and we ran out of the door and headed down the street. Now, I've got capital letters for Daddy and Mummy because they're their names. I've not said that their name is Tom or their name is Gemma, okay? So I've named them as Daddy and Mummy, so that's why they're capitalised in this. So Daddy, Mummy held my hand and we ran out the door and headed down the street. Thick black smoke filled the air and houses blazed all around me. I was terrified. Everybody was screaming and crying, okay? So Nick, once I was ready, so steal that bit. What did Daddy and Mummy do? Did they hold your hand or did they pick you up? Did they scoop you up in their arms? Did you go on Daddy's back? Okay. And did he run out the door and head down the street? What was the street's name? See whether you could maybe go and research what different streets there are in London at the time of the Great Fire of London. Then describe what you could see. thick black smoke, okay? Houses blaze, that blaze means like on fire, okay? Burning, the flames flickering, thinking about the colours, the orange, the red, the yellow. So I'm really describing here what I could see as I was walking through those streets, okay? People screaming, crying, belongings trailing all over the floor, other children lost from their families, okay? Maybe there's been a child that's let go of their mummy's or daddy's hand and they're screaming, "Mummy, daddy, where are you?" Because there's so many people in the street and everyone's confused and everyone's trying to get away from the fire. So still, once I was ready, daddy and mummy, what did they do? Did they hold your hand? Did they grab your hand? Did they pick you up? Did they put you on their back? Okay, and we ran as fast as we could and headed down the street. And then describing what you can see. Could you see the red flames? Okay, could you see people all around in panic, in horror? Okay, screaming, crying, you could hear that. What could you smell? So describe to me what you did and what it was like once you walked out onto those streets.